Hello and welcome to Module 7, Creative Work Plans and Key Insights. Now we've done a little bit of work on the Creative Work Plan, or at least some of the fundamentals in some of the strategy documents we've discussed, as well as some that you've created. But let's get down to some of the finer points to see if we can turn this Creative Work Plan into a formidable tool. So Creative Work Plan, or CWP, as it's referenced in some of the text, helps define who exactly you're talking to and what you want to tell them and what do you want them even to do once they listen to you. And these are valuable questions that a copywriter needs to be asked in order to do his or her job. I like to talk about a creative work plan is a great way to cover your butt in an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. Meaning, if you can get all of the questions and all of the essential information and answers out on the table and ready to discuss, then you are being set up to be successful and to write something that is not only interesting and creative, but extremely effective as well. With a creative work plan, it's always smart to start at the end, meaning think of the creative work plan in general as a way to meet your objective. What is that objective? Figuring out what this unsolved solution is. In other words, it's good to remember what you're trying to do with your copywriting. If your offering is new, you need to generate awareness. If your offering is improved, you need to show how something is different. You see what I mean? If your offering is on the decline, you need to help rethink new uses for it, perhaps. Sales are flat, you want to expand the market. So it's the main idea of the creative work plan is to help understand and meet your objective. Now, in this class, we've broken it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 key elements here, and then we want to talk about each one briefly to give you an idea. Then after this presentation, there's some examples of some of these aspects in some spots that hopefully you'll enjoy watching. First, as we alluded to there, is your advertising objective, the unsolved solution. Now, generally, an advertising objective is to inform or persuade or remind the target consumer to do something. And it is truly as simple as that. Some of the best commercials and some of the best and most effective writing have that very clear, basic, simple understanding of an objective. This picture is alluding to a classic campaign of hello, I'm a PC, hello, I'm a Mac. And that very simple objective was to get consumers to switch brands. That was it. And from there, there's some brilliance that followed. And I included both the UK version, of the campaign version, and the US version, so you can kind of compare and contrast, and they're a lot of fun. So understand what your objective is. The next element on the creative work plan is the key insight. Now, simply put, think of a key insight as a thoroughly consumer-centric understanding of a specific problem. Now, this problem or issue is so particular and so specific that in retrospect it seems wildly simple. And it's that aha, that sudden epiphany where you see how simple this problem is. The key insight's often called the aha moment. It's a great way, and some people say this absolutely powers some of the best creative in the world. Now, for example, a good aha moment. Westin Hotels, they had a campaign that was called Heavenly Beds, about how comfortable their beds were. and it was a very successful campaign. And the key insight, the aha moment was from thousands and thousands of hours of research and meetings and consumer dialogues and all kinds of consumer panels. Somebody noticed that a lot of people, when they came to the Westin Hotel, the first thing they would do would be they would throw back the bedspread, the one that covered the bed. So all you would see are big, fluffy sheets, and then they'd fall right back into the clean white sheets. And they noticed that a lot of people did that. And so what they decided to do is call out the fact that they don't put the standard bedspreads on the beds. They're big, white, clean, fluffy, padded blankets and sheets, and they're just very inviting and made for people just to kind of plunge in and totally relax. Now, that was a big differentiating point for a lot of consumers and business travels, and their bookings and their sales went up because they knew that consumers, when they get into a hotel room, one of the first things they want to do is just basically plunge down on a clean white sheet. Another aha moment was Starbucks. Now, there are other key insights, of course, but one of the things that helped Starbucks know how to proceed was the idea that people, they're not willing to pay $4 or $5 for just a cup of coffee. You can get a cup of coffee anywhere. But they did realize people were willing to pay a premium price for what they were calling a 10-minute vacation that just happened to be a delicious cup of coffee, something so wonderful and so tasty and so delicious that it's like going on a little 10-minute vacation while you enjoy your coffee. Now, that's a big key insight, and they made sure their products and their service all match that concept of something very special like a 10-minute vacation. And finally, Nike. We've seen some Nike commercials already, but this whole idea of the just do it, that you are already a great athlete inside. The shoes, you just need them to help you. And then in the examples below, I've included a current or somewhat current Nike Just Do It commercial, but I also included their first television commercial that didn't have the benefit of this key insight, and I really want you to watch them both and see what you think and see how far they've come from, you'll see Running Cavemen. It's just a little bizarre and certainly off-brand for Nike to where they ended up. Next is the target consumer, and we've talked a little bit about this. Think of a target consumer as a real person. Use your own insights about yourself and the people you know and love. Make people real. Capture their personality you're talking to. If you're focused on pure demographics or even psychographics, you're probably not truly letting yourself understand the consumer. You almost have to fall in love with consumers, no matter what you're selling, and help them help you make the brand successful. So look for the personify these consumers, and again, capture their personality in whatever language helps you, but understand they are real people, and you can offer them real solutions. Okay, next is, next is the competition, meaning who are you competing against? And sometimes it's surprising. It may not be another brand that's the same as yours or another service or company. A good way to get a deeper understanding of competition is asking these three questions to the side here. what are you up against? As a result of what you're up against, how does that define what you stand for? And then finally, how do you express that? So take Target, for example, Target brand. What are they up against? Well, I think you could say Target feels like they're up against you have to be rich in order to be to enjoy good design. And so what does Target stand for? As a result, they stand for the democratization of design. And how do they express that? In a sense of great design for everybody. Now, there are some examples below this presentation for Target as well as for Dove. And I want you to have a look to see how they are very creative in how they define competition. So they elevate the competition and they aspire to be a greater brand because of that, I would argue. Now, key consumer benefit, we've already talked about this a few times. Remember that benefit is what is in it for the consumer. So if I'm a consumer, I'm going to say, why should I care about what you're offering? What is in it for me? And that visual reference there, of course, is remember that people don't buy drill bits. They want the hole that comes with it. Next is support, which is your evidence, your reasons to believe, your demonstrations that prove whatever you're trying to say is correct. And sometimes they're facts, sometimes they are demonstrations, sometimes they are testimonials, you name it. And sometimes no support is offered as well. If you watch just about any political ad, very little support is offered, but somehow they still get on the air. But these are the reasons to believe. So if the consumer benefit is why should I care, what's in it for me, the support is well, here are the reasons why you should care, and here are the reasons that this matters to you or why it's valid. Next to last is the call to action, which is pretty important. I want you all to also not forget about this in your writing. You have to be very clear about what you want the listener or viewer to do. Is it call today? Is it write your congressman? Is it click here? You name it, but be very overt and be very transparent in what you'd like the viewer, the consumer, to do. And it doesn't have to be a long call to action. You don't need a bunch of details. You just need to give them enough to make a baby step toward your brand. And then last but not least would be budget, which is very important as you look at the practical aspects of what you're writing. We're not going to get too much into this now, but let's just say some of the spots that I've seen that you folks have written have been great and very entertaining, but in real life, you guys are $1 million idea people because a lot of those ideas would cost rather a lot of money. So maybe we'll have some fun with some low budget stuff later on. Great. Just a few other elements on creative work plans or briefs is sometimes a client wants a tone. Is it fun? Is it whimsical? Is it serious? If you have a commercial for a very complicated back surgery procedure, you're probably not going to want to use wacky sound effects and be too terribly goofy. So tone does matter, and sometimes that's directed by the client or whoever's directing the writing. And other things, mandatories, and I've included some of those in the assignment here. Limitations. What do you need to say? Are there logos, existing equities, music, what have you? Many brands are very sophisticated and have brand Viz ID books and courses you have to take before you can work on the brand, and others, of course, are less so. But there you go. That is just a quick, brief look at creative work plans and how they can be a helpful tool in moving your writing from where it is to where you want it to be. All right. Thanks a lot.